Guys, we're going to talk about holster mold modifications. Stick around. All right, guys, if you're like me and you're trying to make a little side business on making a couple holsters, pouches, that kind of thing, you're probably going to buy a couple of these. Now, these can cost anywhere from $30 to $60 or even to $90, depending on what you're trying to make. Typically, I buy them from Holster Maker or I buy them from knifekits.com. They have a large variety and selection. I will say that a lot of times it's a lot easier if you actually have the firearm to test the holster. You don't have to, it's almost impossible, especially if you get a lot of orders. You're not going to be able to buy every firearm in the country. So you will have to at some point buy one of these. And if you're going to make multiples, you definitely want one of these. I will warn you, if you are going to make a holster out of your firearm, please make sure that it's all steel construction, maybe like a 1911 or a Smith & Wesson. If you have any polymer on that firearm and you heat up hot Kydex and then put it in a hot press, you are going to destroy your gun. There's a reason why we use these, okay? This is just for test fit, that's all it is. So if you have the gun, great. If you don't have it, it's absolutely fine. Some of the molds that you buy will come in different types. You have the regular blue gun, which is like the training model, and it's very accurate to the actual firearm. You can still use those. They're made of very hard polymer. Again, you got to be careful with these because what you don't want to do is scratch, dent, or break one of these molds. They can be broken. Any of those pieces or cracks will show up in your Kydex, so you want to try to keep them as pristine as possible. Knife Kits is really nice because they give you these cool bags. You can put them right back in the bag, and it has a label on the outside so you know exactly what it is, and then you can store them that way. Again, if you're making multiples, you're just pressing and going with these. The modifications that I found work are the trigger guard. If you can look at the trigger guard itself, on most of the molds that you're going to get, the trigger guard is kind of a little shallow and that's it. And again, that's basically for protection or for safety. Understand that on these guns themselves, there is a little bit of space. You can see that right there. There's a little bit of space in here, okay? What happens is when the Kydex comes in, it slips around this trigger guard, and that's when you hear that audible click. That's what you want. You want the gun to fit and go click, okay? If the plastic is too far back, then you can actually put pressure on this trigger, and that's not what you want, okay? So holster makers have to be extremely careful about that. What I tend to do is to hollow out just the front end of the trigger guard just to give it a little bit more pop. All right, again, you don't have to do that. I find that it gives it a little bit more retention, and I also use a retention screw on a lot of my holsters as well. So on this one, this is a Gen 5. This is a Gen 5. Okay, so I'm making a holster for this, but there's problems with this, and we'll get to that in a second. Some of the other modifications that I have used in the past, this is just my own personal modification. This is a left hand inside the waistband holster. You can see that this right here is G10, and what I did is I created a block for this. This is the I think 1.5 clip, and it's just very simple. I make the holster around this, and then I drill the holes, and then I put it in there. I will warn you about putting holes in here or putting screw holes in here. If you put screw holes in there, again, what you're doing is you're weakening this hard polymer, and what will happen is you can crack it. All right, so a better way of doing it is just using double stick tape. It will melt, it will move, it will be a pain in the butt. You can also glue it. I've tried hot glue and that seems to work, but again, the more you heat it up, the more you're going to loosen up that glue, and then it's going to fall off anyway. Screw kind of works, but again, you're putting holes in this thing, and I don't really want to put holes in this. Again, like I said, these are $50, $60 a piece, and if you break it, you got to buy a new one. Okay. Flashlights, they do sell on occasion flashlight molded pistols. This is a Glock 19 with a O-light on it. Okay, so as you can see, it's already completely blocked out. All right, you can see that it has the Olight features on there, and all of this is blocked out. Now, what I will say is once you put a flashlight on this, you are no longer using the trigger guard as a friction holder. So it might not pop anymore. What you're doing is you're using as much as the holster as possible or the flashlight to keep the retention. So it might sound a little bit different, but it should have enough retention to hold it inside your holster. If you turn that holster upside down and the gun falls out, you do not have enough retention. Okay, that's a good way to test. And then this one is a Glock 17 or 21 with the, this is another Olight. This is the, I guess, Valkyrie, all right, has Olight on there. What this means is I can make multiples of these holsters. I have these guns, I have this flashlight, and then I can make multiples, all right? That's all it means. So again, if you could see that the trigger guard is now covered, and you can tell by all the blocking here. Now, it doesn't mean that if you don't have these things that you couldn't make it, all right? Making custom holsters is what costs so much money, because you have to use things like dowels. So I have different size dowels that I would use to cut in half and use it for blocking, different size, such as if you look on these have sight channels that are blocked out, okay, that nice round. You can buy dowels on Amazon and you can use the dowels and just tape them on top. I also have popsicle sticks. Popsicle sticks are awesome. You can use that for sight channels, or I'm sorry, you could use that for any type of channeling. So if you look on this mold right here, what I have is the slide stop. This is a Gen 5, so there's a slide stop on both sides of a Gen 5. This Gen 5, you have a slide stop here, and you have one on this side. So it's ambidextrous slide stop, which is kind of cool, I like it. But if you mold the plastic around that, it's not gonna work. So what the mold maker did is he created this and put the channels in there. As you can see how this is kind of working out. Also, the sight channel has already been blocked out for me, so it's already pre-molded, it's pre-mated. You can get the dowels in squares if you wanted to. I've actually already seen them. They are on Amazon.com if you just had the gun itself. All right. Also, another type of mold that you can use is, this happens to be a 20, this is only half. As you can see, the mold is just one square mold. And again, there's a lot of different ways to make holsters. There's vacuum tables, there's press methods, there's all kinds of different ways to do it. I typically use the press method because I use that for my knives, and it works out very good for me, and I don't have to buy any more equipment, which is also nice because I don't have any more space. They also make molds for revolvers, so just because you have a revolver, don't think that you can't get a revolver holster in Kydex. I actually make a couple. This happens to be the SP101, and I also have one for the Centennial. So for your wheel guys, I will definitely make you one. If you're interested, go to Three River Kydex. Now that we know that there's different molds and different types of molds, understand that all manufacturers don't make them the same, and they certainly don't make them in the same colors. That's basically how you can tell. They have green, they have purple, black, gray, and then this is in yellow, so you know they're different manufacturers. Okay. The problem that I'm having today is we're trying to make a custom holster with the TLR7 contour remote. All right, if you're not familiar with this product, it's the TLR7A, sorry. TLR7A is about a 500 lumen gun light. It's actually pretty cool. You have a button on the left, button on the right, and it also has a finger switch over here. So if you wanted to, what you can do, snap this on your firearm, and it's a very nice flush fit. And again, you have the option to use this as a one-handed weapon light operation. So that's really what it's about, making things cooler. What's good about that is not only will this light fit on your Gen 5, but it does fit on your Gen 4. I had no problems connecting this to my Gen 4 on this mold. And again, we're gonna have to block some of this stuff out because they do not make a mold with this flashlight. So now we have to make it work. again, this is what the customer wanted. He wanted a Gen 5 and he wanted to put this light on it and make a holster for him. Great, no problem. The problem with this is that the trigger guard itself will not fit the strap on the contour. So it's not seating correctly. It will fit on the Gen 5 like I just showed you, but it will not fit on the mold. So I took out my fancy Pittsburgh China-made caliper. Let's see if I can turn it on. There you go. And I just want to give you guys a little bit of information. Oh, let's zero this sucker out. Zero out. So, on the gun itself, we're looking at 15, I don't know if you guys can see that. Let's see if I can put that in frame. All right, so you're looking at 1577, right? On the Gen 4, okay, you're looking at 1584. Okay, that's not so bad. And ideally you want this bigger. You want this trigger guard bigger on the mold so it fits that. Makes sense. Make it just a little bit bigger so it fits. When I take the Gen 5 mold, we're at 1680. All right, 1680. So obviously this is way out of spec. Now again, I know that the manufacturer didn't plan on us putting this on a mold because the molds have to be bigger in order for the gun to slide in. Okay, kind of makes sense. So in order for us to work this, we're gonna have to take some off the side and then kind of maneuver it and then get it to fit before we block out this gun. Alright guys, so a little bit of sandpaper kind of took this down a little bit. I kind of went a little bit overboard. So now I'm getting what's supposed to be 1580 or 1590, 1580, right? Now I got on here 1535, so, and on a regular Glock, you're looking at 1574. So it's actually smaller than I wanted. So that's what I mean about be very, very careful. Try not to take too much off. I don't really mind because this is just going to be for the light. If I need to order another one, I'll order another one. But now, as you can see, it wouldn't go on. It's a little quirky again because it's not a real gun. But if you work it a little bit, try to maneuver it in there, it'll get in there. And what I had to do is really loosen it up. Let's see if I could loosen this up a little bit and kind of work it in. And you don't want it to be under any type of crazy pressure. You just want it to fit in the groove. Sometimes, there you go. I just felt it click in there. And then when you tighten it up, everything should fit nice and snug. Okay, so that's it. All right, as you can see, now it fits. All right, there's no play or anything in here. It fits nice. The light still functions, okay? On either side it functions. Now normally what I would do is I would drill a hole here, but I can't do that because there needs to be a light channel. I don't know if you could see this right here, but if you are going to put a piece of plastic in here, it would just mold in and then you would never get the gun out. It would just keep hitting it. So this is where I said we're gonna have to do some type of blocking, and you could build it up any way you like. You can use all kinds of things, but sometimes just a simple popsicle stick works really well. And as you can see there, as long as it goes all the way out the back, you should be fine. And then I'm going to continue just to build it until I have what I need. Alright guys, that's pretty much it. This is a prototype. I'm working with somebody on this. It's going to get a little bit better, a little bit lighter, a little bit thinner, that kind of thing. But if you want one of these, please go to threeriverkydex.com. I will make you one like this or similar to it. Again, if you want a custom order, it starts at $100, so it's not cheap, but we'll get what you need and we'll get it out to you as soon as possible. Like, subscribe, share, add some comments down below, and as always guys, please stay safe.